Do you know the same laws that govern the road are the same laws that govern life? The laws that govern how you drive are the same laws that are supposed to govern how we live our lives in order to live a meaningful, productive, successful life, and a life that helps us to fulfill the purpose for which God created us and placed us in this place called earth. Life is based on set of laws that we are supposed to operate. Just like to drive successfully on the road, you have to follow certain rules. Life has been designed and wired in a way that if we follow certain principles and certain laws, we will not only be living a meaningful and productive life, we will be helping people also to live meaningful and productive life, and also helping people to fulfill their purpose here on planet Earth in the process of us fulfilling our own assignment and own purpose, or in the process of us driving into our own God-given dreams, our own God-given purpose, our own God-given assignment here on planet Earth. So whether you are making a turn, or you are making a U-turn, or you are changing lane, or you are just driving, taking into consideration other road users or other drivers, you are using certain laws and certain principles. And if we could translate those same principles in our day-to-day life, be it in our homes, be in our community, in our workplaces, if we can use the same principles that govern the way we drive, we will be able to make an impact wherever we find ourselves, and we'll be able to arrive at that beautiful destiny. Life was not created for us to have several accidents, just like the roads were never designed and created for us to be having accidents, road rage, death. So life was not created for us to have depression, heartbreaks, and all the kinds of challenges that you and I experience sometimes on a day-to-day basis. In this course, I've tried to break down some of the principles that we use in our day-to-day life while driving, to see how we can use those same principles in our day-to-day life so that we will get to wherever we plan to go, or where God designed for us to go successfully. So join me in class as we explore these principles and apply them in our lives, so that we can live meaningfully, productively, and create the impact for which God created us and placed us here on planet Earth. Driving is a more mature, a more advanced, a more civilized way of driving. It is driving in such a way that you take into consideration the driving needs of other road users. Just like we have defensive driving, there is what I call defensive living. So, what is defensive living? Defensive living is a more mature, a more civilized, and a more advanced way of living. It is living in a way that you find and fulfill your purpose and assignment here on earth before leaving planet earth, but not also in the process of finding and fulfilling your dreams, your goals, and your assignment here on earth. You are helping others to either find theirs, or you are helping them to fulfill their own God-given dreams, assignment, and purpose in life. So I want to share with you 5 key principles of defensive living. The first of my 5 principles of defensive living is that you help people to find their true path. You know, sometimes in life, in some parts of the world where you don't have the GPS, or GPS is not accessible to everyone. It's possible you find someone driving and he stops you and say that, I'm lost, can you help me? I want to go to this destination, but I've just missed my way. Can you direct or redirect me? Sometimes in life, we find people live very successful, well dressed, driving very good cars, well connected, have everything that one would say life offers, but deep down they don't have any peace. Once of it, they don't know where they will spend eternity. So defensive living requires that you help people to fulfill the assignment for which they were created. The second of my 5 principles of defensive living is that you help people to believe in themselves. Sometimes you find people in life, they are so beaten by the circumstances of life, the challenges of life. They have experienced defeats, they have experienced broken hearts, broken marriages, broken careers, so much such that they no longer believe in themselves, they don't believe in their potentials, they don't believe even in God, they don't have any hope. So defensive living will require that while you are driving in this busy road of life, you take time also to watch on those driving around you and help them to believe in themselves, ignite in them some hope of living, some hope of fulfilling their dreams and fulfilling their assignment. So defensive living will require you not just to focus on your own needs, on your own challenges, on your own problems. The third of my 5 keys on defensive living is that you serve as an inspiration. And how do you serve as an inspiration, and why is it important? You serve as an inspiration by, first of all, ensuring that you have found your own purpose, your own meaning, and your own assignment in life. While you find your purpose and you are moving in fulfilling that purpose, you are inspiring others to also take steps and strides on the risks that it takes for them also to get into their own God-given assignment and their own God-given purpose. When people see you living sacrificially because you want to fulfill the assignment, the purpose for which you were created, when people see you focus on that assignment, on that goal, on fulfilling your dreams, you are inspiring them, you are helping them, you are propelling them to start moving or start taking the necessary steps to fulfill their own God-given dreams, assignment, and purpose in life. The fourth of my 5 keys of defensive living is that you always consider others better than yourself. Because one of the key ingredients of defensive living is humility. So when you believe that you have everything that it takes to be better than everyone, life will always bring you a situation that will humble you. But if you live defensively, putting others better than yourself, putting others first, puts you in a place where you will never be embarrassed. Because why? You are living defensively, you are living in humility, you are humble. The last key on defensive living is that always leave people better than the way you met them. Find yourself in the community anywhere, ask yourself, what's the addition? What addition am I bringing in this person's life? What addition am I bringing into this community? What addition am I bringing in this organization? Don't leave people with hurts, with bitterness, with grudges. These are my 5 keys of defensive living. My hope is that just as you drive defensively, taking into consideration the needs of other road users, you will start living defensively, taking into consideration that other people have dreams, they have assignments, they also have challenges in life, helping people to become better, making a difference in people's life. I want to talk with you on the laws of blind spot. What are blind spots? Blind spots are those areas where a driver cannot easily see other cars around him, in spite of the fact that he uses his rear view mirror and the side mirrors. He can't see other cars around him, so he has to quickly look over his shoulder in order to see if there are cars coming behind him, especially when he wants to change a lane or make a turn. So these are blind spots. So no matter how good a driver is, no matter how good the car is, every driver has a blind spot. Similarly, in life, everyone has a blind spot. No matter how good a person is, no matter how successful a person is, no matter how good a coach, a mentor, a teacher is, we all do have blind spots. And what do I mean by it? We all do have blind spots. Areas in our lives, we all do have areas in our lives that we need growth, areas in our lives that we need improvement, areas in our lives that we need adjustment in order to become a better version of who God wants us to be. And of course, when I say blind spot, I'm not talking about people who engage in crimes or engage willfully in things that will hurt others or harm others. I'm talking about people who are genuine, trying to help and trying to grow, but they still have shortcomings and weaknesses in their life. So I want to talk with you on the 5 principles of blind spot. The first of my 5 principles on blind spot is that beware to adjust your rear view mirror so you see the back of your car completely. Why is that important? Well, once you're driving and you can see the back of your car completely, you can often tell when a car disappears from your rear view mirror and your side mirrors. You can always tell that that car is at your blind spot, and that helps you to be cautious if you want to make a turn, because you know the car is somewhere around my blind spot. In life, we have to adjust the rear view mirror of our lives so that we can see our past, because most often we are quick to judge others, we are quick to condemn others, we are quick to make negative criticisms and comments on others. But if we adjust our rear view mirror and see our past, we will see the mistakes we made 5 years, 2 years, 1 year ago, and that will humble us. The second of my 5 principles of blind spot: adjust your side mirrors, both sides. Because if you adjust just one side of your side mirror, you will not be able to see cars in your blind spot. You know, in life, sometimes we adjust just one side of our mirror. We focus on just one area of our lives. Sometimes we focus on our careers at the expense of our family. We focus on our jobs at the expense of our calling and purpose. We focus on our charisma and gifts and talents at the expense of character. Adjust both sides. Live a holistic life, a 360-degree kind of living, not neglecting one aspect of your life. The third of my 5 principles on blind spot is that beware you don't drive in someone else's blind spot. Don't build your life focusing on other people's weaknesses. Don't try to build a career trying to pick out people's weaknesses and judging and condemn them. Don't build your career on that. Don't drive in someone else's weaknesses. It doesn't pay to be a critic. It doesn't pay to be a critic, especially when you criticize others with the intention of bringing them down and destroying their lives. Don't build your career on that. Don't build your life upon it. Don't dwell there forever. Yes, we can point things that are wrong in people's life. Yes, we can point things that are wrong in the community or in the society. but don't dwell there, don't drive there, don't drive permanently in someone else's blind spot. And the fourth of my 5 principles on blind spots is that beware of your own blind spots. You also have weaknesses, you also have shortcomings, you also have things you have to address in your life. You have character issues, mindset issues that you have to deal with at one point in your life. Beware of your own weaknesses. Because if you look at your own weaknesses, you see your own weaknesses, you spend time and resources working on yourself, working on your weaknesses, working on your shortcomings, then you will have no energy and time just trying to criticize others and trying to bring others down because of their weaknesses. Beware of your own weaknesses. And the last of my 5th point on the laws of blind spot is that beware to speed up or draw back. You know, when you're driving, when you're about to change lane and you realize that there is a car around your blind spot or you are around someone else's blind spot, 2 things you can do. You speed up to move away from that person's blind spot, or you draw back, you allow the person to go. In life, you will have to make these choices to speed up from some people. Some people have attitude issues, some people have character issues, and as long as you stay around them, as long as you spend time with them, they will cloud your judgment, they will cloud your convictions, especially people who are not ready to grow, people who are not ready to deal with the issues around their lives. If you stay around them, you might start copying some of their attitudes, some of their mannerisms. Scripture tells us that bad behavior, bad company corrupts good manners. So you have to speed up. In other words, even grow, outgrow some people. People who dwell in gossip and backbiting, outgrow them. Speed up your growth. Or you could draw back. Draw back simply means that you draw back from certain groups, you draw back from certain people, you draw back from people who are not ready to grow, people who are not ready to improve themselves, you draw back. These are my 5 principles on blind spot. I hope you will watch on your blind spot, and but most importantly, you will not dwell on someone else's blind spot. God Hello, I want to talk with you today on past and being past. Oftentimes when you're driving and somebody passes you, the first thing that comes to your mind is that you're a slow person. You're not doing it right. And the temptation increases when you even want to prove a point to that person that you can drive better than that person. And most often it leads to road rage and accidents and sometimes even death. In life, you will be passed by someone. You may have been in a place for so long. Someone will come and go ahead of you, whether using the right methods or crooked methods. Someone will go ahead of you. And probably if you look, you have gone ahead of people that you have met in certain places. You have gone ahead of them. So what attitude should you develop when somebody goes ahead of you? The first thing that you should do or you should understand when people go ahead of you is that probably they know something you don't know. You know, information is very, very powerful, and people fail or succeed in life based on the quality or the type of information that they have. Somebody might go ahead of you probably because he is operating with a different set of information that you don't have. Scripture tells us that my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Lack of the right knowledge about whatever thing you're doing in life, whatever area you find yourself, lack of the right information, updated information will cause you to stagnate while others go ahead of you. The second reason why people might be going ahead of you is that they are doing something you are not doing, or probably you're doing it wrongly. You know, skills are very, very powerful. And the moment you fine-tune your skills, you go ahead in life. So people might be going ahead of you because they have developed certain skill sets that is helping them, propelling them in life. You might be in the same company, in the same job with somebody, but you have different set of skill sets that you don't have, despite the fact that you all work in the same organization. So he moves ahead of you. He might have even come after you, but develop certain skill sets that is causing him to go ahead of you. Again, the person might be doing something that you are not doing. Probably the person is going an extra mile. The person is paying attention to details, and that is causing the person to move ahead of you. The third thing is that probably the person might be in a different season. You know, sometimes in life we are all in different seasons. There are people who are in their seasons of planting, their seasons of sowing, others are in their seasons of harvesting. Somebody might be going ahead of you probably because he is in the season of harvesting. You might still be in a season of planting. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means that you are in a different season. Your season will come. So when somebody is going ahead of you, probably he's operating in his season of harvest. The fourth thing that you must understand is that people going ahead of you doesn't mean they're doing it right. Some people are fast doing the wrong thing. People cut corners in order to move ahead of you. They don't respect the rules of the road. Some people might be going ahead because they are going way beyond the speed limit. So you don't have to panic because somebody is going ahead of you, probably violating the rules of the road that is going above the speed limit. Another key thing you should understand when people are going ahead of you is that you can also go ahead. So when somebody goes ahead of you, it simply tells you that you can also go ahead, you can move forward, you can go at the same speed. If only you would do what they do and you know what they know. So seeing people moving ahead should be an encouragement to you, might inspire you. What should be your response when people move ahead of you? First, never try to stop people when they pass you or when they want to pass you. Never try to stop them. You know, in some parts of the world where the roads are so narrow and you have just one lane, and oftentimes you see when you want to go ahead of somebody, the person tries to block the road, and because the road is so narrow, you don't have any means to go ahead. You can't pass because the road is so narrow. Never try to block people when they want to go ahead, even if they are using the wrong means. Let them go, because you'll be spending a lot of energy trying to stop them. Let them go. Go on your own pace. Let them go. Another thing that you could do when you see people going ahead of you is that you can encourage them. You don't just give them the way to go, but you also encourage them. This is a sign of maturity when you encourage people who are trying to go ahead of you. Once you encourage them, once you tell them, you can do this, see you can do this, you have what it takes. This is a more mature way of dealing with people when they are going ahead of you. One day, those same people you have encouraged to go ahead of you might turn back and help you. So these are some of the attitudes and some of the things you should do when you find people going ahead of you. This presentation, I'll be sharing on attitude that you should develop when you go ahead of others. Somehow in life, you go ahead of others. If you have not been placed ahead of others, you will go ahead of others. You go ahead of your peers. You go ahead of your siblings. You go ahead of your friends. You go ahead of your colleagues. And so what are some of the attitudes that you should develop when you go ahead of others, when you pass others in this journey of life? The first thing you should understand is that going ahead of others does not mean you are already operating at your peak. Yes, you may have passed others. Yes, you may have been working hard and you've gone ahead of others. But that does not mean that you are operating at the maximum of your potentials and your gifts and your talent. You see, we have great gifts and talents and potentials in us. Oftentimes, when we are promoted in life and when we go ahead of others in life, we stop working on ourselves. We stop working on ourselves. We stop working on our gifts. We stop working on our talents, because when we turn back, we see that Paul is behind me, Peter is behind me, John is behind me, and so our drive to move ahead is even slowed down, and we don't want to working and continue growing. So going ahead of others does not mean you're operating at your peak. So you should understand that. Sometimes you go ahead of people who are just average people who have decided not to progress in life. And so because you've taken a step, you go ahead of them. And so you also decide to stop because you look around, everybody now sees you as a hero. Now you're the local champion. So going ahead does not mean that you're operating at your peak. The second thing that you should also understand is that going ahead does not necessarily mean that you are the best. Sometimes, for some reason, life will just place you ahead of people. You could call it favor, you could call it grace, you could call it whatever you want to call it, but somehow in life, you find that you are ahead of people, not necessarily because you are the best. You know, going to look back in our school days, you and I will agree that there are people that are behind us that were smarter, more intelligent, more well-behaved than we were. But somehow life has placed us ahead of them. It does not necessarily mean that we are the best. So this is what we should understand, that going ahead of others does not necessarily mean we are the best. The third key thing for you to understand is that going ahead of others does not necessarily mean that you are on the right path. You know, sometimes you find people, they are ahead, going ahead, you know, they are moving ahead with such a great speed. It does not mean they are going towards the right destination. Scripture tells us of a man called Jonah. God called him and instructed him to go to Nineveh. He got up, boarded a ship, and I believe he was fast going ahead, but he was going towards the wrong direction. Going ahead of others does not necessarily mean that you are heading towards the right direction. So it's very important to check, because you could be going ahead of others, but you are going towards the wrong direction, to your call, to your purpose, to your assignment, or even the will of God and the purpose of God for your life. The fourth thing you should understand, that going ahead is a responsibility. See going ahead as a responsibility. Don't see going ahead as something that you should look down on others and, you know, try to despise others. Sometimes life will send you ahead just to go and prepare a way for others. You remember Joseph in the Bible. He had this dream where he saw himself and his brothers, they were bowing down to him. And when he shared this dream to his brothers and his parents, you know, they were not so happy with him. They sold him and he went to Egypt. Then his dream suddenly became a reality. His brothers came and bowed down to him, and, you know, when they realized that he was the one, they were repenting and confessing for what they did to him. And this is what he said. He said, "You didn't send me here. God sent me here so that I should come and save lives." So sometimes life will send you ahead of others, ahead of your siblings, ahead of your peers, ahead of your mates, ahead of those around you, so that you should go ahead and prepare the way for them. You should go ahead and help them. So often see going ahead of others as a sign of responsibility, not as something to despise or look down on others. Lastly, never try to put in your mind, "I want to go ahead of others." Always decide, "I want to go ahead of myself." By going ahead of yourself, you might go ahead of others, but their priority should be, "I want to go ahead of myself. I want to go ahead of my old self. I want to go ahead of the me of last year, the me of 5 years ago, the me of 1 week ago, the me of 1 month ago. I want to go ahead. I want to progress." If you make up your mind that you want to go ahead of yourself, you'll be moving at your pace. You will not be asking yourself, "Who have I passed? Who have passed me?" Because you know you are moving at your own pace, going towards your own dreams, working towards your own God-given assignment. So these are some of the attitudes that you should develop when you pass others, or when you go ahead of others in life. I hope you pick up something that you apply in your life because you have got ahead of others, or you apply in your life when next you go ahead of others. There's no way you can drive for over 5 hours without changing lanes or probably making a turn. And so for you to change lanes, there are certain guidelines and certain principles that you have to observe in order not to get into an accident or in order not to bump into another car. First, you have to look on your rear view mirror to check if there is a car coming. Then you look on your side mirrors. Thirdly, you slightly go over your shoulder to make sure that there is no car coming around your blind spot. And if it is safe, then you can quickly change lanes. So these are the laws of changing lanes. In life, for us to get into a God-given destination and purpose and affect all the people that God designed us or created us to affect positively, we will be required to make some changes. It could be you'll be required to change your geographical location, or you're required to change jobs. It could be required to change some business partners, to change some organizations. So there are certain guidelines and some certain principles that I strongly believe that you and I can observe if we have to make any significant shift or change in our lives. So I will be sharing with you 5 key principles of changing lanes. The first of my 5 principles of changing lane is that you look back. If you are to make any major decision in your life, look back. What does it mean? Look back to see similar situations where you have made that decisions and see the impact or the effect of that decision and the things you learn from there. You could also look back to see similar situations where others have made similar decisions and how that affected their lives, so you can pick up lessons. The second, my 5 principles of changing lane, is that you look inside. What does it mean? Test your motives. Look inside. Ask yourself, why am I making this decision? Why do I want to change my geographical location? Why do I want to move? Am I being driven by impatience? Am I being driven by some negative competition and jealousy? Am I being driven by pride? Am I being driven by just the need of temporary gain at the expense of long-term fulfillment of purpose? What is driving me? What is motivating me to make this decision? It's very important that you test your motives, because you want to make significant decisions in your life based on pure motives, based on motives that are aligned with your purpose and with your assignment here on planet Earth. The third key lesson of the 5 principles of changing lane is that you look around you, your side mirrors, you look around you. Ask yourself this question: how will this decision affect those around me, especially those that I have responsibility over? It could be your wife, your kids, your husband, or those you have responsibility. Answer that question: how will this decision affect their lives in their own purpose and their own assignment and their own calling in life? What principle that you want to use when making a major decision in life is that you look at the bigger picture. How will this decision affect me 5 years to come? How is it going to affect my life in the next 30 years? if you have to move from one location to another, if you have to move from one job to another, if you have to move, change business partners and change organization, how will this affect me in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years, in the next 50 years? But also, how will it affect generations to come? How will it affect generations yet to be born? How will this decision affect your lives? And finally, the last key when you want to make any major decision is for you to look up. Look up to God. God has lived your future already. Your future is God's past. So he knows what will happen in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. Even when you must have gone, he knows what will happen to your children, your children's children. So it's important that before you make any major decision, look up, consult God. Ask for guidance, for divine guidance. And God is always ready to provide you with guidance, because he knows you. He knows the reason why he created you and placed you here on earth. So these are 5 key principles that you and I should always consider when we want to change lanes, when we want to make a significant and major decision in our lives. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.